Hello new friends, Lynette here from Lost in Time Attire, and welcome to my first video. Today I want to try my hand at making a 15th century V-neck or Burgundian gown. I've made one of these before, but I wasn't very pleased with the result. The silhouette was incorrect and the sleeves were wrong, but I'm going to try this with more of the 1460s, 1470s silhouette in mind, including getting those sleeves right this time. So this is the pattern I used to create the dress. According to period sources, necklines made a deep V that could reach all the way to the natural waist. To achieve this, I just made a straight line from the shoulder to just above the waist itself. During research for this dress, I found that the back neckline could actually vary from a deep V to something more like what I used. You'll also notice that the patterns are relatively short. The skirt actually starts from the waist, so there was no need to make the patterns any longer. The sleeves have an S-shaped head that transfers the seam to the back of the arm instead of the bottom as we are used to. The S shape is made using your arm size measurements, which I got by measuring a fitted garment. Now, while that's the pattern I did use to create this dress, I discovered while in the process of making it that there is an easier way. So here's the more correct pattern. You can see that the collar is simply the neckline of the dress pulled out. I achieved this by using the same front pattern I just showed you, but drafting the neckline with extra width so it could be folded down as such, just to mimic this side. The back collar is a separate piece that I cut on the fold using the curve of the neckline as my pattern. This is the pattern I plan on using for future 1460s, 1470s style dresses. So for my fabrics today, I am using some lovely curtains. I did find them secondhand, and they're this golden color with brown designs on them. I think they look period. I like them, but that's just me. I do have 4 of them, and they measure 42 wide and I believe 97 long, so that should be enough for this type of dress. However, if you want something that's insanely wide or has a really long train, you're probably going to need more fabric. For my liner, I'm using this brown shiny polyester taffeta stuff. I don't know where I got it. Knowing me, it did come from a thrift store, but I can't remember. I'm thinking it came from a thrift store. So if you're going to follow along with my method, you'll see that the next thing to do is going to be to unpin all of our fine work and pin it back together, each piece to a liner piece, and then we'll sew it together. Although I may have to pick up filming in the morning, as the lighting in this room is not the greatest, yet lamps are on the way, and I believe somebody's tired. So now that all of our pieces are cut out and pinned, we can begin sewing. So I watch a lot of YouTube tutorials, a lot of them. And I've always wondered, like when I'm watching it, why do they have that table? Why do they have a cutting table? That seems so weird. They've got all this beautiful floor space. Why do they have a table? I understand why they have a table now. Because doing all this real quick made me realize that I'm actually a 100-year-old woman in a 27-year-old's body. I have a glorious pile here. I'm actually really excited to sew this. Now that you have all of the pieces sewn together, you're going to want to trim off the excess liner here. That's just going to be something super simple. And now before you sew it together, you are going to want to add any trimmings you may want onto there, whether that be some scrap fake fur you have lying around, some velvet, different colored anything really. I am going to use some black velvet that I have left over from a Maleficent cosplay from like 4 years ago. I bought way too much and it's just sat in my stockpile since then. Okay, so we are ready to sew, and now I will be finishing these with a zigzag stitch rather than hand stitching the entire thing. That was my original plan, but I didn't leave myself enough seam allowance. So we make do. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is take note of where the original stitches are that are keeping these two pieces of fabric together. We don't want those stitches to show on the other side. I'm going to zigzag stitch the whole thing, then straight stitch it, and that will keep the ends from fraying and keep any stitches from showing on the right side. Okay, so with our back piece here, we want to mark where our natural waist starts so we know we need to stop sewing at this point and put the gore in. It's just going to be something simple that makes our lives a lot easier. And now we're still going to finish these the same way we finished the side gores, with a simple zigzag and straight stitch. You can finish these by hand if you want, or with a serger, any way you would prefer. This is just the way I'm going to do it. Earlier when I said, yeah, this will be enough to make this kind of dress, but not if you want it super huge. So that was a lie. This thing is going to be ginormous. I really love ginormous dresses. And there's enough left over to make cute matching bags, or perhaps a hennin. You can make Burgundian dresses with a lot less fabric. I just chose not to because I didn't think it was going to be this big. I don't even care that this fabric isn't exactly period. This thing's just going to be glorious. So this thing is going to be a lot bigger than I initially thought. I had to turn it sideways as it's too wide for my workroom. My initial idea to put the collar on as a separate piece has proven false. I've done further research and it shows that the collar on these types of dresses was usually part of the liner actually pulled out. So I am going to have to make this work, but I still need a collar on this dress. So what I've done is I put my dress on the dummy, I took some scrap mock-up fabric, and I drafted some collar patterns. So this will be my front, and I have my back piece here. So I'm gonna put them on some scrap velvet that I have and just sew them onto the dress. I'm probably gonna have to hand sew it, but that's okay. The collar sewn on now, and I fray checked the end just because this fabric really wants to fray. So I'm waiting for it to completely dry. I'm gonna cut off these frayed ends, though there probably isn't really a need. Clip, especially the curve in the back, flip it over, hem it, and tack it down in a few spots, and then this beast is done. 15th century gown in all of its gigantic glory. It's actually so large I'm having trouble filming it as I have to put it all the way across the room, and it's making it look like a hobbit dress. While making this dress, I did learn a lot about the construction of Burgundian style dresses that I really didn't know before, such as the collar actually being part of the dress itself and not a separate piece that's sewn on like a Anglo-Saxon or Anglo-Norman facing. This is something I'm definitely going to use for future projects. I already have the corrected pattern that I've shown you, and I highly doubt this is going to be the only 1460s, 1470s style overdress I make. Now the total cost for this dress came up to about $20, so this makes this not just my first video, but my first entry into thrifty garb. So that's kind of exciting. And this dress is gonna look a lot better once I have the proper accessories like a hennin and a belt and an underdress, and those are in the process of being made or acquired as we speak. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm sure I'll get the hang of recording shortly as I make more videos. If you'd like to see more, please feel free to like and subscribe. I am always creating things, and I will see you next time. There better not be another freaking snake in here. So, a quick funny story as I sit here and wind this bobbin. When we moved from Michigan to Tennessee, I could not find my bobbins anywhere. I was super mad because I had just bought this thing. I looked all over when I unpacked the boxes. I just found them yesterday. You know the little storage drawer in your machine? The snack drawer, as it should be? Yeah, that's where they were. And listen to this. Ugh.